Site plan and subdivision hearing, Downtown Hub Associates 3, Urban Renewal LLC, 65 Patterson Street, Block 17.01, lots 1.06, 3, 8, 9, and 10, PB 2025-07.
Members of the board, Thomas F. Kelso on behalf of the applicant, Downtown Hub Associates 3, Urban Renewal LLC. Well, obviously, this is a very significant project that's coming before the board. We commonly refer to it as H3, the Helix 3. It's obviously a project that's going to change the profile of the city of Brunswick literally because of the magnitude of the project and its size. And it is the culmination of the Helix initiative on this location where we have H1 almost completed, ready for occupancy in the coming year. H2, which is well underway now, which will have the Nokia facility, and we've gotten them into the Brunswick, which is a real good for the city. And now we have the opportunity for H3, which is a combination of office space, a residential component, and really, I think, really is a culmination of what the other two projects were bringing to the city. For the record, I would indicate that it is for preliminary and final site plan and subdivision approval. The building it'll contain approximately 557,000 square feet. It'll be 39 stories in height. The building will contain general lobby space, mechanical space, Middlesex County offices and meeting rooms, as well as ground floor retail space. Floors 1 through 7 will generally contain office and laboratory space, and floors 8 through 39 will contain 265 multifamily rental residential units, 31 student housing residential units, and amenity spaces. The project is part of the Farron redevelopment area, and the project itself is in full compliance with the redevelopment plan. And of course, DevCo, who is the driving force behind the developer, the development entity, is the designated redeveloper for the project. My expectation this evening is I will be calling 3 witnesses. We will have Mr. Chris Palladino, of course, as you all know, who is president of the Brunswick Development Corporation. Christian Coach is our civil engineer, and Mr. John Martin, our architect. Sorry about that, Chris. I once called you Christopher, corrected you. Christian. So at this time, if there's no questions for me, introductory-wise, I call Mr. Chris Palladino.
Can you please state your name, spell your last name for the record?
Christopher Palladino, P-A-L-A-D-I-N.
Do you swear or affirm to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Chris, if you could just give us an overview of the project, the DevCo vision for the project, and so that we can get a familiarity with it more than what I already told you.
It's always hard to follow Mr. Kelso. It's like following Bruce Springsteen. So good evening. Thank you, Chairman, members of the board, Councilwoman. The Helix Development Project, which you're all familiar with, is really part of the governor's strategy to return New Jersey to its prominence in the innovation economy. In fact, when he published The State of Innovation, Building a Stronger and Fairer Economy in New Jersey, the Helix was pages 41 through 43, even before we built it. This was an important project. I'm starting to feel old because the first day we had this discussion was during his transition, and we're already into another transition 8 years ago. Here in New Brunswick, from the earliest strategy sessions with the mayor about the redevelopment of the Farron Deck, we all pretty much agreed that New Brunswick should lead the way in rekindling the spirit of Thomas Edison, Waxman, Sarnoff, and Einstein, and setting the stage for the next generation of innovators and researchers. We're well on our way. So where are we today? H1 opens this spring, as Mr. Kelso said. 400 translational researchers led by 80 new principal investigators who have been being recruited from all over the world. Will occupy 160,000 square feet in the state-of-the-art life science facility in H1. 150,000 square feet will be served as the new home of what will be the Rutgers School of Medicine when they merge the Robert Wood Johnson Medical School and the New Jersey Medical School in Newark. And 130,000 square feet will be populated by startups, late-stage pharma and bio, and an exciting data city project being led by the county, which is working on autonomous vehicle research. H2, which is under construction, will relocate 1,000 mathematicians, physicists, electrical engineers, and computer scientists in Brunswick, and they're bringing with them their 11 Nobel Prizes and promise that they're going to win some additional ones while they're here. They're going to conduct research in quantum computing, drone applications. Actually, one floor of the building, if you remember when we were here, I guess a year or so ago, is 30 feet high so that they can fly drones inside doing their environmental and agricultural research. And my favorite is that they will connect New Brunswick with the lunar surface because they are today installing the lunar the cellular network on the moon. H1, H2, and H3, which is the subject of this project, will pivot a site in downtown New Brunswick, which was a parking garage when I was still in college. And the first phase of this project, because I'm not going to say that this is the last piece of it, we will have developed 1.5 million square feet, representing an investment of $2.2 billion. We will pay the New Brunswick Parking Authority $50 million for the site. We have committed $4 million in community benefit agreements to the city. And we will be generating approximately $5.6 million annually in property taxes. This building we're presenting this evening is 563,000 square feet. It represents an investment of $468 million. H3 really rounds out the ecosystem of being a 24/7 space. Laboratories for the School of Engineering's wireless development labs and their battery storage research, spec dry space for startups and early stage AI and tech companies, office space, and housing for 99 Rutgers medical students, which I thought was a strange number, but that's what they decided on. Plus 268 apartments, 20% of which will be affordable units. We've been assured by the Parking Authority in writing that they're going to be able to integrate the parking demand for this project into their current inventory. So we're actually not building any more ugly parking garages. We've secured all the necessary property for the project. We're completing the financing. We were awarded $359 million of Aspire tax credits by the EDA last month. We intend to close and commence construction in April, and we will complete construction in the summer of 2028, right about the time that Nokia will be occupying the site. As always, I certainly thank you for your consideration and for your partnership, and at the appropriate time, I'm going to be here if you ask any questions. Thanks.
Any member of the board professionals have any questions for this witness? Seeing none, please.
Thank you. At this time, I will call Mr. Christian Roach to testify.
Can you please state your name, spell your last name for the record?
Sure, it's Christian Roche, R-O-C-H-E, Tom.
Do you swear or affirm to the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do, and Mr. Kelson and I have worked together for about 20 years, so I have to do that part in there.
Mr. Roach, you have appeared before this board before?
I've appeared before this board approximately 40 to 50 times in the last decade. I'm professionally licensed in the state of New Jersey. My license is still current. I'm glad to go into further qualifications if you'd like, or you can proceed.
No, we remember you. And we'll attempt you as an expert.
Great, thank you, very much appreciated. So, Mr. Kelso, I have 3 exhibits. I'll mark them as I go, if that's all right. I'm going to start with Exhibit A1, which is entitled Site Aerial, with today's date, prepared by Langen Engineering. The project site we're here to talk about this evening is identified as Block 17.01, lots 1.06, 3, 8, 9, and 10. In total, those 5 lots comprise exactly 1.0 acres, and they're generally bound to the north by French Street and the H1 and H2 developments, to the west by Kirkpatrick Street, to the south by Patterson Street, and to the east by Spring Street. The site is presently occupied by 5 commercial buildings, as well as a surface parking lot that's presently being utilized by the H1 contractor for staging operations. So moving to Exhibit A2. Exhibit A2 is entitled Subdivision Figure, I should say, again with today's date. We are proposing a subdivision as part of this application, which includes the conversion of the 5 lots into 2 new lots. Those 2 lots will be entitled Block 17.01, Lot 1.1, which will be 0.18 acres. That will include an access drive as part of the development, which I'll talk about later on this evening. And then the second lot will be identified as Block 17.01, Lot 1.09, which will be 0.82 acres, and that will include the H3 development site. Most importantly, both of these new lots are fully conforming with the redevelopment plan. So now moving on to the more exciting stuff. This is Exhibit A3. It's entitled Site Plan Rendering, again with the date of December 8, 2025, prepared by Langen Engineering. So this plan is just a colored version of the site layout plan that was submitted as part of our site plan application package. What the applicant is proposing to construct on the property is a 39-story mixed-use building, which will have an accurate footprint of approximately 30,000 square feet. The building will include around 174,750 square feet of office use, 2,142 square feet of retail, and then 169 one-bedroom units, 69 two-bedroom units, 14 three-bedroom units, and 17 four-bedroom units. As Mr. Kelso noted, in its entirety, the building will produce approximately 557,000 gross square feet of new development in New Brunswick. While the building does primarily occupy the vast majority of the project site, we are proposing some improvements, mainly pedestrian-oriented, with a new sidewalk along the northern face of the H3 building and the eastern face of the building, and then we're proposing entirely new streetscape along Kirkpatrick Street and Patterson Street for those areas fronting along the project site. There will be an access drive, which is proposed to the north of the H3 building and to the south of the H1 and H2 developments. This access drive was originally approved as part of the previous developments, and you may ask yourself, why do I keep calling it an access drive rather than a road? The reason for that is we do not plan to dedicate the access drive or the roadway as a public road. It will be open to the public. We're not going to have restrictions from anyone utilizing that road, but from a formality perspective, it will not be dedicated to the city. That access road will be one way from Spring Street heading west towards Kirkpatrick Street. Parking for the project, as Mr. Palladino mentioned, will be provided in adjacent parking garages within 800 feet of the project site in accordance with the redevelopment plan. Just quickly going over the parking requirements, the redevelopment plan requires 0.6 parking spaces per 1,000 square feet of office and retail, and in addition it requires 0.5 parking stalls per 1-bedroom studio unit, 0.8 stalls per 2-bedroom, and 1.15 stalls per 3 or 4-bedroom. If you do all the math on what I told you was going into the building and those requirements, and the planner and engineer can back me up on it, the required amount of parking stalls is 298. And those 298 parking stalls, again, will be within, most likely 3 garages within 800 feet of the project site.
Could you identify those roads?
Sure, it'll be most likely a good portion within the wellness parking deck, the gateway deck, and then the pack deck on Baird Street. Within those garages too, we'll be meeting our EV charging station requirements, as well as the ADA parking. And I think Mr. Palladino or Mr. Kelso mentioned that we do have a letter from the parking authority confirming the capacity of those garages to handle the 298 spaces. Lastly, we are proposing a significant amount of bike parking internal to the building. The architect may talk about this more further, but at a minimum, we'll have a bike room that can house 87 bike racks, which is the minimum required for the development plan, and we may have slightly more than that. Loading for the project site is anticipated to take place at the northwest corner of the building. We have an internal loading area, and the reason we felt this was so desirable, per the redevelopment plan requirements as well, is we wanted to make sure after we're able to back in the loading or moving trucks, there's going to be no encroachments into the Kirkpatrick Street right away. So after the vehicles make the reverse movement into the loading area, we'll be able to close the doors and there's no impact on the existing roadway. Within that area too, I mentioned loading, but by loading out some trash operations and moving out operations for the residents. We did do a comprehensive traffic study that included counting the existing traffic volumes at several intersections. As a result of that study and a result of the modeling, we do have 2 improvements that we're proposing here this evening. The first improvement involves slight modification changes to the direction of traffic on Kirkpatrick Street and Patterson Street. Specifically for Kirkpatrick Street, presently the street is one way towards the north. We're proposing to modify that to 2-way, but just from the area south of our access drive to Patterson Street. So for that small stretch, we're proposing to make it 2-way. And then we're also proposing to make Patterson Street 2-way from Joyce Kilmer to Kirkpatrick Street. And that's an interesting existing condition there. Right now, it's 2-way up to the wellness deck entry, and then it becomes 1-way after that. We're proposing to make it 2-way for that entire 1-block stretch. And the reason we're proposing to do this is if you look at the traffic patterns in the city, we anticipate that some residents will be doing drop-offs, we'll be dropping off groceries, and then trying to drive to the parking garage. If we didn't make the modifications, right now, someone would come down, they'd make a right on to Kirkpatrick Street, they'd have to go all the way back up to French Street, go around Spring Street, down all the way to Bayard, and it's about 2 more turns before you get to the wellness deck. By making these improvements, it makes it much more efficient for someone to come down the access drive, make the left turn onto Kirkpatrick, make the right turn to Patterson. So it significantly eliminates a circuitous traffic route. The second improvement that we're proposing resulted in a traffic study, and I'm just going to refer back to Exhibit 8 because it's easier to see. We are proposing the new installation of a left turning lane at the Joyce Kilmer Patterson Street intersection. Right now, if you're going southbound on Joyce Kilmer, it's a single lane, so if someone's trying to make a left turn there onto Patterson, that entire traffic operation starts to become a crawl. What we're going to do is we're basically going to mirror the northbound, where northbound has the through travel lane and the dedicated left turn lane. We're going to do the same thing on Joyce Kilmer traveling southbound, and that significantly improves the existing conditions and operations at that intersection.
Can I interrupt?
Sure.
I think it's important to note that the front door and the lobby and the entrance of the residential will be on the access road, on the Strand, which is the public right-of-way. So that's why it's kind of important for those people to be able to make drop-offs, drop people off, leave packages, and then kind of go on. The office space will have a lobby on Patterson Street, and the research component will have a lobby, a small lobby on the what we call access road. So we'll have 3 lobbies, and it's not all going to be in one place.
From a landscape perspective, we are proposing all new street trees along Kirkpatrick as well as Patterson Street. That includes 3 new maples along Kirkpatrick and then 11 new honey locust trees on Patterson. The streetscape for those 2 roadways is in conformance with the city requirements. We are not proposing street trees along the southern sidewalk of the access road. The reason for that is that sidewalk is only 5.5 feet wide. We don't have the room to put in those street trees at that location. Lighting for the project is going to be fully conforming with the redevelopment plan and the ordinance through the proposed installation of standard PSE&G light fixtures. I think we have a total of 9 new LED fixtures going along the surrounding roadways and also in the access plan to meet the lighting requirements. Utilities, I'm not going to spend a ton of time on this. We've met with the city to discuss the water and sewer capacity. Capacity is not an issue in that area, and we have no objection to complying with the technical comments we got from the water and sewer professionals. And then electric and gas service will be provided by PSE&G. They've confirmed they have capacity to support the building. Lastly, with regards to stormwater management, we are proposing to meet both the state and city stormwater management requirements through a proposed reduction in impervious coverage compared to pre-existing conditions. What that means is there's more paved or impervious surfaces out there today compared to what will be out there upon completion of the project. So, Mr. Kelso, unless you have any specific questions, I will just say we did receive comments from the engineering professional as well as the planning professional. We have no objection to complying with the comments within those letters.
I have no further questions.
Any member of the board professionals have any questions for this witness? For the access road, how are you going to control that people don't park on there at all times?
So
Since it's not dedicated to the city.
there will be building personnel and management within all 3 buildings. The intention would be for limited parking. If you're going to make a drop-off, can you park there for 5 minutes? Yes, that's one of the reasons we wanted to have a 20-foot wide road. So if someone was holding things up, other cars can still get by. But it'll be a management enforcement issue.
We would also enter into a Title 39 agreement, which would allow enforcement of traffic control by the city through that third line.
All right, thank you. Any other questions, comments? Seeing none?
Yeah, I'm not sure if you're the right person to answer this question, but the building at this scale, does this have implications for the New Brunswick Fire Department and other fire departments? Is it something that the city has the capability of handling?
I think the short answer is yes. We did have a preliminary meeting with the fire department as part of our technical review process with the city. Covered at that meeting was just kind of access and circulation around the site for the fire trucks, potential sprinkler, FDC locations. So I think the short answer is yes, and we're perfectly willing to continue working with the fire professionals from the city.
Any other questions, comments from the board and board professionals? Seeing none? Your next witness, please.
At this time, I would call Mr. John Martin for testimony.
Can you please state your name, spell your last name?
John Martin, M-A-R-T-I-N.
Do you swear or affirm to the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
John, you are a licensed professional architect in the city of New York, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
So in that capacity, you're familiar with all the architectural components, design, and structure of the building that's being proposed here tonight?
I am.
I know that John has testified here before, as part of page 1, page 2.
We'll accept him as an expert in architecture.
If you could then, John, I would rather than ask you specific questions, if you can go through an analysis of the building. Feel free to use I know you have exhibits to show. Everyone likes to see the pictures. Doing it so you can give an idea of what the various components are in the building.
Thank you. I will label my first exhibit A4. Picking up where Christian left off. A4 is an aerial view of the H3 project from the north. And to reiterate what Mr. Kelso and Mr. Palladino said, this is a generational opportunity for the city of New Brunswick. But when completed, it will be the tallest building in New Brunswick and one of the 5 or so tallest in the state of New Jersey. But beyond its height, it has an incredibly important role to play in the city. It has no back. It has 2 fronts. As Mr. Palladino has already alluded to, this whole block was master planned as a really dense ecosystem of learning, innovation, and living. It's designed to be active. It's designed to bring life from the campus all the way to the cultural heart of the city. And so it's an important hinge block. It's directly across the street from Amtrak and New Jersey Transit. And there's arguably no more important place in the city to do something fantastic. These 2 research buildings are severed in the middle by a very important public space that we refer to as the Strand, 66 feet wide, over 300 feet long. It forms a vital outdoor gathering place for the city, and it needs an appropriate terminus. It has on its northernmost end Albany Street and the train station. That will be plenty active. But we had to put something at the terminus of the Strand that was exciting, engaging, would pull people down the Strand, activate the retail spaces that characterize the market hall and the restaurants that will be in each one. So what you're seeing is the north-facing facade. The building is conceptualized as 2 vertical rectangles, one in a metal and glass grid with 3-story height expression moving all the way up the building, and the other in a sheer glass shaft. And what's important about this shaft is we've worked hard, you'll see this in the plan, to make sure that the primary residential elevators are right on the center of that strand. And they're glass backed. So as people go up the elevator to their apartments at night, they'll be able to look right down the strand and vice versa. You'll be able to see the elevator. So it's a very active element at the end of that strand. I want to, before I take you around to the rest of the facades, I want to explain a little bit about how the building is organized. I'll label this Exhibit A5. And it's a diagram of how the uses stack up in the building. It's very important in this innovation ecosystem that all of the buildings have a variety of uses. Mr. Palladino has already alluded to how each one has education for the medical school, innovation for the startup labs, and teaching and research for the university labs. That mentality is carried into this building. It's primarily, in terms of its area, it's over half residential, but it has many different uses. Beginning on the ground floor are the public spaces, the meeting room for the Middlesex County. Moving up to floors 2 and 3, those are wet and dry lab spaces for Rutgers tenancy. And what you see in blue, those top 4 floors, are office space for the County of Middlesex. Moving to the purple, there are 4 floors of Rutgers University housing specifically dedicated to the medical students who will be learning their trade right next door. And then the 3 brown floors and the ochre colored floors, the next 30-something stories are all market rate residential with an affordable component, and then there's a mechanical pit house at the top. So that's how the building stacks up. I want to now move to Exhibit A6, which is an enlarged floor plan, to elaborate a little bit on how those uses all meet the ground plane, because how the building meets the ground plane and how it becomes active and pedestrian friendly is a paramount concern for us. I talked about the Strand coming from the north and the residential entry being the terminus of that Strand. This is a grand lobby. It's very tall, 2 stories tall, and it is like the Premier, if you're familiar with that. It's a high-end residential lobby, so it's very visually inviting. Even if you don't go in, as you walk past, it's very pleasant. Immediately to the east of that is a smaller lobby that accesses those 2 floors of Rutgers Research, where they envision a couple of programs from their engineering school coming over that are very complementary to the research that's being done in Nokia. So they think that that's a real synergy to have that entry on this access road right across down the Strand from the primary entry to the Bell Labs Nokia building. So we've placed those 2 primary entries on this access road to activate that Strand, to really give the residents a more semi-private entry, and so also to make them directly accessible from transit, from the train. As Mr. Roach alluded to, primarily the parking will be in this garage, and residents will park in this garage, walk down along the sidewalk, and enter the residence right there. The Patterson Street facade is equally important. This corner, which anticipates future development happening further down Patterson Street, is anchored by retail space. This is to bring life to the street, to make the hard corner of the parking garage a little more lively. And then the eastern side, all of this kind of salmon color you see, is dedicated to the public uses of the Middlesex County program, the public meeting rooms, the counselors' chambers, and so forth. As Chris Roach said, there's a 3-bay loading dock that's accessed off of Kilmarnock. He mentioned it, I won't go into it, but all of the trash, all of the goods coming to all of these uses come in out of these 3 loading bays. And as he mentioned, the door can be closed, so there's no odors, there's no visible trash. All of that is kept off of the streets, both public ways and the private way. Let me take you back around to the Patterson Street aerial view. This is a view from the southeast. I'll label this Exhibit A7. And the primary purpose of this that I want to show you this is to show you that south-facing facade, but also to show you that the expression of the building does come all the way to the ground. This is not a floating box sitting up on top of a podium. This gridded metal and glass expression does reach the ground on Patterson Street. So it really functions as it's anchored to the site, it comes out of the site, and it has a very prominent entry marked there for the Middlesex County space, for the Middlesex County offices. That is its most civic use, and so it needs to be legible from the public right of way, so that's why it's on Patterson Street. And I want to highlight the fact that we've stepped the building back as it moves to the west. We also stepped it back to the east, but particularly we've stepped it back from the property line as it moves to the west to increase the distance between the adjacent 1 Spring Street condominium tower. It's over 150 feet from that western edge to our eastern edge. And then 2 more exhibits, both ground level views, one from the south on Patterson Street looking east. I'll label this A8. And this is that southwest corner where the retail space happens. The building massing does set back a little bit to allow, if this were a cafe or even something as quaint as a florist shop, to allow it to spill out onto a wider sidewalk. The sidewalk typically along Patterson Street is about 12 feet wide, 13 feet. The building's not quite parallel to the curb line, so it does vary a little bit, but nominally 12 feet with the street trees, and it sets back another 5 or so feet here to allow a deeper sidewalk. And then finally, Exhibit A9 is a view looking down that strand to the primary entrance of the residential building. It is a monumental arch, keeping in scale with the importance of the civic space. And this facade, the podium, the first 7 floors, which is all you really read perceptually as a human walking down that promenade, is all glass. It's all very transparent. You're seeing research happening on the 2nd and 3rd floor. You're seeing the county at work on the floors 4 through 7. So we think that it's an exciting opportunity, and we hope that it's an exciting building. Thank you.
I have no further questions for John.
Any member of the board or board professionals have any questions for this witness? Seeing none. Next witness.
That completes our presentation. Again, I would just remind everyone that what you heard and the factual basis for the application before you all conforms with the redevelopment plan. A lot of work and effort went in.
Stop! What do you have to say about the blood of the Palestinians that you are building this building with? Shame on you! Shame!
We're not going to have interruptions like this. You're either going to sit down or we're going to ask you to leave.
Shame on you!
Why are we bringing Tel Aviv University to this city when they're operating a war room while Israel's committing genocide? You think about that.
Everyone knows the Helix Hub will include Tel Aviv University.
Please stop calling out.
Why are we including Israeli universities into New Brunswick?
You have the blood of Palestinians on your hand. You should be ashamed of
The
yourself.
University of Tel Aviv.
You will be known as Nazis.
The University of Tel Aviv will be included in the H1 campus. Why are we including Israeli universities when Israel is genociding the Palestinians in New Brunswick? I am a citizen and I do not want Israel or any Israeli universities in this town. And Helix Hub will include Israeli Tel Aviv University.
We're going to take a 5-minute recess so we can call the police and have these protesters escorted out of here. We'll be back in 5 minutes.
Call the police on Chris Palladino for bringing Israel to this city.
Shame on you.
Shame!
You can record us all you want. Doesn't absolve you. Shame.
Tel Aviv University.
Over 700,000 are dead because of you.
Okay. 745, 5200. Can you call?
Until us hear about it.
I just got a call from my work. Yeah, it's my name is Jeff Kaplan, the board chair, having a meeting in City Hall.
Motion to reopen. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting is back in session.
Yes, I think what I was about to say was, just want to remind the board that everything that you've heard this evening with regard to the building, the layout, the parking is all in conformance with the redevelopment plan. I know my client and the professionals work very closely with the planning office and with your professionals to make sure we hone in on all the issues that we think are of significance, and always to make sure that we comply with the redevelopment plan. I think my client's track record for doing that and the projects that produced already speak for themselves. So with that, we defer to the board in its discretion.
Any member of the board of Directors have any questions, comments on this before I open it up to the public?
Not at this time.
Seeing none? This time I'd like to open it up to the public. Anyone wishing to speak will have 5 minutes to come forward and say comments or concerns, and we'll open it up now. Please come forward. Please state your name.
Spell your last name for the record.
Rocky, and Belvedere. B-E-L-V-E-D-E-R-E.
Do you swear affirm to all that you have in the truth?
I do.
You're on.
Israel has been occupying Palestine for over 70 years. And for,
Ma'am, this has nothing to do with this project. Can you please
no, it
state
does,
that?
because you're collaborating with Tel Aviv University. You have nothing to say about that?
It's not relevant to the site plan application.
This has nothing to do with the site plan application, so please stick to the topic at hand. If you...
Okay, I'll stick to the topic at hand. How about the fact that H3 is this new building with residential buildings? It's pushing out the locals who already live here. DevCo has been around since the 70s, and it's been protecting the interests of not only the elites who live around here, but also J&J. The J&J CEO was one of the people who created DevCo to protect the interests of J&J headquarters here in New Brunswick. Locals have been pushed out by projects funded by DevCo and Rutgers for a long time now, for generations. And living downtown has become extremely expensive, with the police targeting the locals who already live here, especially by the New Brunswick train station. You say that these residential apartments will be affordable. However, how can you even say that when the access road leading to said residential areas, people can't even park there without being ticketed? This is just an extension not only of this genocidal project between New Brunswick and Tel Aviv University, it's also pushing the locals out. You say it's going to be the new Silicon Valley of New Brunswick, New Jersey, but it's only aiding the students and the commuter class who are traveling here from New York City. So our demands are to get Tel Aviv out of New Brunswick and free Palestine.
Any other member of the public have any comments or questions on this project? Please come forward.
I'm sorry, I missed, my name is Eneida Cholula, I'm a local business owner. I missed the first,
Can you spell your last name for the record?
Cholula, C-H-O-L-U-L-A.
Do you swear or affirm to the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Okay, to me again.
I'm a local business owner in New Brunswick, to be exact, at 53 Patterson Street in the basement. I just started like 2 years ago leasing there. I have a lease for 5 years in there. And I just finally think I got all my permits approved thanks to the city of New Brunswick who let me have a local business there, a deli convenience store. My only concern was 53 Patterson Street. How long does that building has till you guys bring it down? Just because, you know, I want to plan ahead and I want to know like if my investment is going to give me a return. You know, it cost me a lot to set it up, so that was my only concern. Thank you.
53 Patterson Street is not part of this project. That's the brick building on the corner, right?
Correct.
With the haircutting place used to be.
Correct.
Where you used to get your haircut?
We can't break down yet.
It's not part of this project, it's not part of this application. There is some discussion, and this is going to be a city matter, with respect to the road widening that the city has planned there, but I don't have any more information about that.
All right, thank you. Any other questions from the public?
Hi, my name is Ray Pettit. I live on 1 Spring Street.
You have to swear you in.
Oh, sure,
So can you
sure.
please state your, can you spell your last name for the record?
Pettit, P as in Peter, E-T-I-T.
Do you swear or affirm to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
I do.
You're on.
Thank you. Ray Pettit, I live on 1 Spring Street, just across the street. And I'm very excited about this building. I moved to New Brunswick several years ago because it's such a vibrant area. But I have concerns. I have concerns that, I don't want to say that it was glossed over, that the studies that were done, but I just want to make certain that proper studies were done, that we're aware of the impact that a 39-story building will have in our fire department. Will they have the procedures and the personnel and the equipment able to fight a fire in a high-rise building? I have concerns about the infrastructure as far as pipes and sewage, whether that might stress the system that we have in place. You know, in the wintertime, it's not uncommon to watch Channel 12 News and to hear about a water main break in Hoboken, New Jersey. I'm wondering if that's going to impact us by having so many new buildings, residence, apartment buildings in our town, and if we're making, I know you can say that the city is okay with the approval process, but it just seemed to was kind of glossed over without saying that they made any kind of investment in the infrastructure so that everything is going to go along the way it is right now. So I'm not hearing that level of detail that I think we should hear, or at least some reassurance that that has been looked at and it's in place. Another concern is parking. New Brunswick, I know the parking authorities said they have the ability to absorb the parking spots that's needed, but I'm wondering whether those traffic studies were done when the Stress Factory had an event in town, when the State Theater is at capacity. It's just that New Brunswick can be a sleepy town sometimes, and it can be a town where people are circling for a parking spot. And I can only think that a building of this magnitude is going to make it worse. My other concern is, do we have the infrastructure as far as, I always come back to, we need a supermarket in this town. We don't have one in downtown. With so many residents coming into town without a car, where are they going to walk to pick up their goods? Where are they going to go to get their prescription drugs? I don't think we have that in place. I see them say we need to get a car so we can go to East Brunswick or to Piscataway to go to the ShopRite. So I just want to make certain that, that you guys anticipate all these problems. It's all coming through my head that this is going to bring problems. It's going to bring a lot of exciting opportunities, but please consider the problems that's going to come along with this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Excuse me.
Sure.
These are all very good points. My biggest failure has been not being able to do the grocery store. I totally appreciate that. I'll certainly leave it to the professionals. I don't think this building, as a layperson, because I didn't learn this in law school, has any other challenges for the fire department than the Performing Arts Center building, or 1 Spring Street, or the the view, which are all 24 and 25 stories. Again, I kind of would defer to the professionals, but I've been doing this for like 30 years, and probably the first 20 years of it, we were always dealing with the sewer separation issues, and they were upgrading a lot of the water systems over this year. So I think there's an all-new system in this part.
Yeah.
Chris, want to talk about that?
Sure. So in advance of knowing that the H1 building was coming online and the H2 building was coming online, we met with the water department maybe 3 or 4 years ago, and we installed all new water infrastructure from French Street down to Spring Street. We looped into the site and installed new water main in Kirkpatrick. So all the water infrastructure has been upgraded to support this project. We've also done select sanitary sewer upgrades along Kirkpatrick Street, and we're currently working with the city and their professionals, reviewing the existing sanitary sewer system in Patterson Street. If there's anything there that's aged or dated that needs upkeep or replacement, the applicant will be willing to do so.
Thank you for those answers.
Yeah, I just might put in for the record statistics, because you mentioned about parking. The requirement under the plan here is 298 spaces. And as Chris has indicated, we're talking about facilities within 800 feet, which is what the plan calls for. So that's at the very least the wellness center, the Gateway project, which is the view for all of us who go under the railroad trestle, and MV Pack. Together, all 3 of those garages have a capacity of over 2,200 spaces. H1, H2, and H3, in compliance with the plan, only calls for a maximum of 856 spaces. So, taking into consideration we're over 2,200 spaces in those garages, and they all are under capacity now, particularly wellness. I would also add that's been indicated to me is currently there is between 500 and 600 construction workers parking in those decks. So they're not going to be there forever, but clearly it's good that there's parking there to be able to give the opportunity for parking for all those workers that are working on the site. But they'll be gone when this building is done, and that's, just shows you that there was a significant amount of capacity in those garages. And that's only those 3. There's probably 1 or 2 others that are within that 800 feet. So I think the city has looked at this over time and said, we want to hit the right amount of parking, particularly to keep the parking authority be able to be vibrant in the number of spaces that they've invested in, that they finance, and not to over-park simply because the more parking we think, and we get nervous about it, the more parking is better, but sometimes it's not, it's counterproductive. So I think in the analysis that we've done in working with the parking authority and through Mitch Karen, who has been with the parking authority for many, many years, they understand and appreciate their capacity and are willing to make that formal commitment to have those spaces available to our partners.
One of the things that we spent a lot of time on with Nokia and the first building in particular was the habits of the people who are going to work there. These buildings are going to be operational from 7 o'clock in the morning till later in the evening. Scientists come to work sometime at noon and stay till 8 o'clock. Sometimes they're there early in the morning and they're leaving early in the afternoon. Particularly Nokia has a very good handle on the way that people come and go. So the parking authority spent a lot of time with translational research folks at Rutgers. Medical students come and go and aren't here full parts of the day, especially the 3rd and 4th year students are at different locations. Some of them already have parking at the hospital. A lot of the faculty already still have parking at the hospital where it's subsidized, so we don't expect them to be using all of the garage. And when we get to the point with the county, a lot of those people are parking in the city already in different spaces. So they spend a lot of time, we spend a lot of time with the parking authority, giving as much detail as possible. The state and the county are spending $65 million on improvements to the train station. think there's 128 New Jersey Transit stops a day. About 7,000 people use the train station. Amtrak has gone, since I've been here, from 2 to 9 to 8. They'll go to 18 Amtrak stops a day, which is going to improve mass transportation. You're going to be able to come from Philadelphia, Boston, Washington. Commuting from Philadelphia you can't do by mass transit today. You will be able to in the very near future. So we purposely didn't want to build a lot of new parking garages because when we do, people complain about that.
Yeah, and I think we don't really speak enough about it, but the significance of the fact of why this site is so important and so attractive is it's right next to the train station. So the reality is that we're upgrading and improving the train station. The stops are increasing, as Chris has indicated, and many of the workers that are coming here are going to be coming through mass transportation.
Thank you. Any other member of the public wish to speak on this matter, please come forward.
Please state your name, spell your last name for the record.
Vincent Cabrera, C-A-B-R-E-R-A.
You swear or affirm that the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
You're on.
All right, so a couple questions. How many trades and/or jobs will this bring to the community, this project? How will you preserve the deteriorating environmental conditions of the state and the Barrington River as a whole with this project and the science being studied in the building? Will this building's research and the building in general, would it help the NJ Superfund in any way, shape, or form push along with like any of the?
Well, it's not a Superfund site. Obviously, we're responsible for the cleanup that we have on. The city's very old, it's an old part of the city, and it's not going to be the first time that we don't find oil tanks or those kind of things. This was also the site, this entire site of a large cleanup for a spill that had happened in 1980 across the street, and it's now been finished with that cleanup, which was complicated.
Yeah.
Mostly heating oil.
Heating oil.
Yeah. Nokia, and I can't say anything in particular, but a lot of their research is environmental research. A lot of their drone research has to do with rainforest and other kinds of things like that. We're hopeful that some of the startups that come into this building are people who are doing to work with water purification and those types of things, and we've actually seen some of them. We're working with a group from India who's interested in bringing some startups here, who definitely certainly bring challenges from other parts of the world. So I think there's a real interesting opportunity there, and I hope that happens. What else did you ask? I'm sorry, first.
How many trades/jobs?
So, to give you an example today, this afternoon we probably had, building trades, we had 1,200 people working on the first two buildings. This building will probably employ close to 1,200 working men and women in the building trades. We will, because it's required by our Aspire. So in our first building and our second building, we will be working with union folks who are operating the building. So there'll be the mechanics, the people who handle the mechanical system and the cleaning, and there'll be union workers. And most likely we'll do the same thing here, because it is a requirement by the state. We will have all three projects employed probably close to 3,600 people in the building trades, where it's all union job. So that's
Is there any new?
Sir, if you're going to come up forward and stay.
Sorry. Is there any new, let's say like youth being like uplifted with this in the community? Because there's a lot of problems with like sewage and stuff, and like the runoff from uptown stuff. And like French Street and like the Somerset, let's say from Robertwood.
Look, from talking about the youth in particular, we have been involved with a number of programs. We are a sponsor of the
Leaders in training.
what's the school?
BTEC.
The PTEC school. We use these projects because a lot of those kids are going to become engineers. I actually think your company is also. So we bring them to the site. We go and we do lectures on this, in the classrooms talking about different construction opportunities and engineering opportunities. We also have, through this program, through our community benefits, have been sponsoring, wow, how many kids now through the program that's run with, what's the name of the?
Hundreds.
What's the name of the program?
Leaders in Training.
Leaders in Training, which is Escobar runs. So, you know, we've been doing, and then on the other side of this, we've been doing, on the first building now, we ran 2 classes of our Leaders in Training, which is the getting people into the building trades.
Train to hire.
Training to hire, excuse me. And we're able to run 2 special programs. We work with people in reentry from drug court, now called the recovery court, and have hired a number of people there. We did an all-women's class. So we've got a number of women and people from the reentry program that are actually working in the construction trades. Just doing the best we can. But I don't know anything about the runoff, sorry.
Okay. Thank you.
Anyone else have any questions or comments? Come forward.
Please state your name, spell your last name for the record.
Zachary Task, T-A-S-K.
Do you swear or affirm to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes. Okay, so my question, first I have a question to clarify. I was reading an article about the proposed H3, and I read about the affordability aspect that you mentioned. It said that I think it was either 53 or 54 affordable units in the project. And it also mentioned that it's going to be 38 student housing units. And it wasn't clear if those were...
They're separate.
Okay, that's what I
So
thought.
students are separate, and we're doing 20% of 265, so whatever the number comes out to.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I just wanted to clarify.
And it includes now, this will be the first building in New Brunswick that's under the new regulation, so it will be studios, 1s, 2s, and 3 bedrooms for families.
Yes, I read that was also, the room assignment was mentioned, not the reason in the article. But I think 50 some units is a great step in the right direction for affordable housing in New Brunswick, because we really do need a lot more. And I think honestly that 20% basis should be raised, because that's just the minimum that is offered, I guess, by the government in order to hit those tax incentives to get the project built. So I would implore you to dedicate more space in the project towards affordable housing. I know that eats into your profit, but we all have to make sacrifices in these times.
Yeah, I think what's important to note is that all of the projects that we have ever done include 20%.
Yes.
Not all developers in New Brunswick have. So, you know, either the Performing Arts Center or the View or senior housing we build is all, you know, been affordable. So
that's great, but more than 20% of people need affordable housing. I think currently the nationwide statistic is about 60% of people can't afford to live in their homes. And obviously that's not all on you, but we need to do our part to help solve that problem too. So I'm also calling on the council to raise that 20% over time. And I hope that is something that we can work towards as a community. And I'm glad you mentioned the parking also specifically. And I am glad that the parking, you're not creating any new parking structures or parking decks for this project, that it is all using parking that's already constructed, because we have way too many parking structures all around the city. It's just littered with parking garages. And part of that is because of the mandatory minimum that you guys mentioned, and that is standard in every city, but every city is suffering because of it. We have an overbuild out of parking across America. And that's, I think, especially true here in New Brunswick. We have like over a dozen parking garages scattered about the city. And it's just a huge waste, especially since post-pandemic, a lot of them have been more empty. We just don't need that much parking. So there's been a big overbuild out, and I think in order to build a better city moving forward, we should eliminate those mandatory minimum parking requirements.
It's an interesting point because over the last, Mr. Dominguez may know, over the last 10 years, that number has come down because what we're seeing in a lot of the housing components, that we're at like 0.7, 0.6 of actual use. Not everyone who has an apartment has a car. So it's one of the reasons I think the city has felt comfortable to bring the requirements down. If you were building this project in East Brunswick, they'd be requiring 1 parking space per bedroom.
Oof. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But you can't go anywhere else if you're out of the
Yeah, that's what happens when you build a city to be car dependent.
Jersey City,
Mhm.
0.25
Yeah,
is what actual use is.
yeah. I
And we
hope
have,
we get closer to that.
And we also have an interesting dynamic here, which is a good thing, is that there's a lot of people who live in housing, who work at Rutgers, who work in the hospitals, and they have subsidized parking at work, so they walk home,
Yeah,
which is another good thing.
there you go. Yeah,
Thanks.
thank you, thank you.
Anyone else in the public? Charlie, please come forward.
Please state your name, spell your last name for the record.
Charlie Prattville, K-R-A-T-O-V-I-L.
You swear or affirm to the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
You're on.
Thank you. Good evening, board members. I guess I'll start with the the positives, the things that I appreciate about this plan. Affordable housing is good. We need more of it. I agree with the prior speaker. We need even more than 20%. Research is good. Knowledge is power. Education's a good business to be in here in New Brunswick. The public space, when this was a hole in the ground for so long. I remember New Brunswick Today shared something on Facebook and said, what would you like to see here? And I think the number one answer was park, some kind of public space that the public could use. So it's nice that at least some of the site would have that, though I would like to see more. The office space was mentioned repeatedly over and over again. The county will be a tenant. Will they be the only tenant?
We have 1 floor of spec space of about 33,000 square feet that we refer to as dry lab space, which basically means companies that don't need wet labs. So basically using computers. So we do have 30,000 square feet of, can be office space.
Okay.
It is office space, but it's, we refer to it as dry lab space.
So
we're trying to attract our startup tech companies.
So non-laboratory, the only tenant is going to be the county. Or I guess you could take the labs and make them offices. Or,
Yeah,
okay.
you could have a company that's doing all work, quantitative work on computers, and they could be in that space.
Okay. I asked the question at the Housing Authority about the county being in there, and I wanted to know if that's a done deal. And, normally I would ask if, the applicants can present a witness from the county, but I think we already have one. Mr. Kelso is, of course, the top lawyer for the county government. Do the county commissioners know that they are going to be renting this space and moving their public meetings there when the building's done? Is this something that's been discussed, decided? I go to all their meetings. I didn't hear anything about this.
You would have to ask them, that's not, we got no control over who rents that space.
Well, it was put on the record many, many times that they will be the tenant. And so I think it is fair to verify that and ask how likely is it that that's actually the case? Are they committed? If so, who made the commitment?
There's no formal commitment that's been done by the county commissioners. There's an expectation that they will be occupying that space as it's been presented here tonight. But they have taken no formal action. When they do, I'm sure you'll be at the meeting.
And if they don't, there's plenty of people who would be interested.
Okay.
But there's addition, I can't speak for them, but there's pressing demand for additional courtroom space. So I think that's causing some of the need for space.
Okay. It's just very hard to make sense of what's going on with all these moving parts with the county. I'm serious. They said they were going to rent a Fresh Grocer and make that their new space, and then they pulled out of that. So there's it's been touch and go, and I don't know what to believe is going to actually happen. I also do, for the record, think it's a conflict of interest for Mr. Kelso to be representing the applicant for this project if the county is indeed part of it.
We've had this discussion before, Charlie, with other projects, and the answer is still the same. There's a commonality of purpose between the applicant and the county to get a project completed. It's the same thing with Penrose, who is inspected to be doing a residential. When it comes to any discussions between what the agreement is between the county and DevCo for the space, if it comes to that, I have recused myself in this building and all the other buildings because I have a very competent staff in the county council's office who deals with it under the leadership of Nikki, who you've talked to before, and she's in charge of it, and I play no role in it.
I don't think there was a question, but I nevertheless appreciate the response.
Well, eventually you would have asked the question one time or another, so I just gave it to you now.
Thank you. The height of the building would be? How much? How tall?
492 feet.
492, okay, so
Under the 500.
pretty sure it wouldn't be one of the top 5 in New Jersey.
It'll be the tallest building outside of Jersey City, not including 2 casinos in Atlantic City.
And Fort Lee, you're forgetting two in Fort Lee.
There's a difference of opinion I have with Mr. Mizuki.
Taxes, it was said they were going to pay $5.6 million annually in taxes.
On all the
But that's not, okay, so that's combined for all 3, and
Well,
that's
we're
not,
expected to
that's
find-
not taxes though, right? That's payment in lieu of taxes, correct?
They're under the long-term tax abatement.
Right.
Yeah,
So
yes.
the critical difference being property taxes are split between the schools, the county, and the city. Pilot payments are split between the county and the city. Schools don't get anything. What will this project do for the school children of New Brunswick?
Again, I'm going to object to this. We're going far afield from what the planning board's jurisdiction is over site plan approval.
Thank you.
Okay, so let the record reflect the question was not answered. New Brunswick
It's not
Parking.
appropriate. Let the record reflect how it's.
There are no youth centers in New Brunswick.
Ma'am,
Will people in Uptown
ma'am.
be able to afford an H3?
Ma'am.
Unless the commuters.
Ma'am,
You're bringing war criminals to the city.
ma'am, last chance. If you speak up again, out of turn, I will be asked you to leave.
Y'all are committing
Please leave.
genocide.
Please leave.
Free Palestine.
Jolly, your time is up also.
Can I have
It was actually up.
I give my time.
Jolly, ask the questions with me and we'll see if they work.
Sure, so it was said the parking authority will be paid $50 million. That's a big sum. I'm curious the impact this deal might have on the parking authority. Is that for all 3 buildings
So
or
all
just for
3,
one?
there was approximately $23 million in the first building.
It's already been paid, and
Right,
then,
and then 17 or 18 on the second, I can give you these numbers directly, and about, I think it's approximately 10 on this person. 10 will go to the parking authority for parking authority.
okay.
2026.
All right, Jolly,
And the big,
time is up. Time is up.
well, this is the most important point, so can I just make this point and
Quickly.
we'll wrap it up? I think it was alluded to that the parking authority has assured in writing that they will be able to meet the demand for this building. Is that letter a part of the record?
Yes.
If not, okay. Was it on the website,
Yes.
Mr. Dominguez?
No.
Okay, so I haven't seen the letter, I haven't been able to review it. I would respectfully ask that you hold off on voting so that the public can review that letter and be able to see exactly what they said, because there are plans that are not yet a done deal to turn the old supermarket into more parking.
All right, Jolly,
And,
time is up.
and this is
Charlie,
critically
your time is
important,
up.
because it was said at the housing authority,
Charlie.
and I think,
The housing authority, your time is up. Please have a seat. We're going to move on to the next person.
Mr. Cox, I waited my turn to speak,
And I gave you your extra time, so your time is
and
up.
much of my
Please.
time was taken up in the answers to the questions. You should have really let the public cross-examine each witness, but you didn't do that.
Well,
So I
have
would
a
like the
seat.
full
No.
opportunity to ask.
Absolutely not, Charlie. Please have a seat. Your time is up.
Mr. Cox, I would like to make the point that the parking authority has brought up
please,
building a new deck.
It has nothing to do with this plan. So it has.
That's not what was said at the housing authority. When the housing
Well, that's the
authority board
housing
members
authority.
pressed Mr.
Charlie,
Palladino on
Charlie,
it, he
I'm
said,
sorry.
there's plans to build a new parking deck on
Anyone
the
else from the
Mayfair
public?
lot. And
Haven't,
thank you
you
for
already
the letter,
spoke.
Mr. Kelso.
Anyone else?
Mr. Cox, this is gonna be the,
No, you can't do that. It's
this is
one
gonna be
time
the
up for
tallest
5
building
minutes.
in New
Anyone else
Brunswick,
have
and
any-
you really only giving 5 minutes for me to speak on it?
Yes, Charlie, that's, you know the rules. Anyone else have any?
The rules say you
questions,
should have
comments?
let me cross-examine each witness.
Anyone else from the public? Seeing none, I'm going to close the public portion of this meeting. Board discussion?
I would just like to say, I think it's been a privilege to sit through all 3 applications for this site. and to see it come full circle, for it to come to fruition with everything that it's given back to the community, everything that Devco, Chris, Marissa, that they do because they want to give back to the community outside of what they have to do when they do projects like this. It's amazing to see this all, and I think it's a wonderful project.
Anyone else? Joe?
Yeah, I just wanted to follow up on the question about the grocery, which has always been a concern of mine too. Is there a thought or an expectation that this development will create the demand that will allow this another try in the downtown area? I mean, where are these people going to shop? You know, I mean, I would think that this would really provide an opportunity for this in the future. Can you comment on that?
Every day. We try. Wouldn't work in this building for a variety of reasons.
Well, in the space that it was in, what, 2-3 times previously in the parking deck next door?
Right.
Is that space still available? Is there still a thought that perhaps that could, there would be a market now for that kind of a...
We can always continue to find, to talk to potential supermarket. I think there's got to be a future project that is overbuilt. I think it was 50,000 square feet. You find a lot of urban supermarkets now being in 15 to 20,000 square foot space. People had a real difficult time with the parking garage. Didn't really quite understand because I used to use it. But we continue to keep this on the front burner with everything that we look at. It is not only probably our greatest failure, but number one on something that we can continue to try to find a way to correct because everybody brings it up.
Okay. Any other questions, comments from the board? Dan, do we have a thing, conditions, please?
Should the board act favorably, the following conditions shall apply. Compliance with the terms of the French and Perillo Associates report dated December 2nd, 2025. Submission of all necessary easements and/or cross-access agreements for review and approval by the board attorney and city engineer prior to filing the same. Payment of a site performance bond in an amount reviewed and approved by the city engineer. Submission of a site inspection escrow deposit for engineering inspection fees in an amount calculated pursuant to Title 16.24.160. Payment of all water and sewer connection fees pursuant to Titles 13.04 and 13.08. Issuance of a road opening permit from the city engineer if required. Compliance with the terms of the Big Mill Planning Report dated December 5th, 2025. Payment of a redeveloper fee if applicable to the city of New Brunswick. Planning review escrow funded for all anticipated post-approval reviews. Payment of any other fees due to the city of New Brunswick related to development or use of this project. Payment of all outstanding taxes and water or sewer fees. Middlesex County Planning Board approval of a waiver. DNR Canal Commission approval of a waiver. Freehold Soil Conservation District approval of a waiver. Applicant shall provide documentation confirming that they have contacted the city's tax assessor to obtain the correct new block and lot parcel designations and street addresses that will appear on the city's tax maps and tax list if the application is approved and implemented. Applicant shall provide proof that the copies of any required new deeds have been recorded with the county clerk and that copies of the recorded deeds have been provided to the city tax assessor and that the tax assessor is satisfied with the form and content of the deeds. Submit engineering site plan to comply with any changes or plan amendments offered at the hearing. Submit architectural plans to comply with any changes or required by the planning or engineering memos or plan amendments offered at the hearing. Execution of a Title 39 enforcement agreement. All utilities and other site improvements to be maintained by the applicant at their sole expense. All on-site utilities to be constructed underground. All temporary encroachments into the public right-of-way shall require city council approval. All construction staging shall be done on-site unless an encroachment allowing into the public right-of-way is approved by city council. Streets shall be kept clean of sediment and debris. The applicant shall cause the streets to be cleaned if directed to do so by the Director of Public Works. Tracking pads shall be installed at all construction exits. Replacement of damaged streets, curbs, and sidewalks as per the direction of the city engineer.
Motion to approve based on the conditions enumerated by Mr. Dominguez.
Second, Megan? Okay. Elisa Checo?
Yes.
Carlina Melendez?
Yes.
Suzanne Sikora Ludwig?
Yes.
Alex Oros?
Yes.
Mike Blackwell,
Yes.
Megan Conini,
Yes.
Bob Cardica,
Yes.
John Cox.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, members of the board.
We move on to the next redevelopment plan. Amendment to the Parker Landing Lane redevelopment plan. Who's going to speak on that?
I will.
You're going to finally speak, huh?
They're going to let me talk. You want to give a minute, you want to let them leave, or you want me to just go?
They can have, yeah. No, we don't. Do you want the officers to stay outside? Yeah, please, thank you. Thank you. Thank you for your professionalism.
Thank you for, tell them about 5 minutes. That's what I'm talking about.
Sure. So, I think it was Yogi Berra who said deja vu all over again. So if you feel like we've done this before, it's because we have. There have been a number of concept plans that have come out of the organization, and it's been a bit of a moving target. I think it was in September, a redevelopment plan was introduced. It might be late August, but the council came here, you heard it, you made recommendations to approve, it went back to the council, and it was approved. After the redevelopment plan was approved by the council, the Parker organization decided they wanted to modify some of their concept drawings. So when we reviewed that, we went back and thought it would be prudent to go and modify the plan. 2 significant changes, and only 2 significant changes. First, because of the slopes of the site, the original building height was a maximum of 12 stories, and then contemplated it would be over 2 levels of parking deck. It was anticipated that those parking deck levels would be completely underground. In the revised drawings, because of some of the slopes on the site, some of those sides of the parking deck would sort of be exposed. So out of abundance of caution, we modified the plan, instead of being 12 stories, to be 14 stories. And that's going to accommodate the 2 levels of parking deck, some of which might stick up out of the ground a little bit in some places. Okay. The other significant modification is that in the original breakdown of spaces, the Parker organization wanted to have corporate office space of all of their Parker facilities to be in this building. That was in their original design. In the most recent modification, they decided they did not want to bring or centralize all of their corporate office space into this building. So that space that was previously going to be their corporate office space got reprogrammed to be additional residential units, residential space. So the parking requirement that was going to be specifically for Parker corporate office space now goes away because there's no office space anymore. And the residential numbers might get affected a little bit, but if you recall, because of some of the spaces is anticipates that the residents won't have any cars, right? Some of the nursing home.
Their nursing home
What's the
versus,
There is some,
assisted living
right, so there's some
versus-
assisted living space, but there's also some, I think it's called
Memory care.
skilled nursing and memory
Skilled
care.
nursing.
There you go. So at the end of the day, there's a little bit of modification on the parking numbers. There's a little bit of clarification to show that the building could be theoretically 14 stories high. That's it. That's really the only modifications. Very minor tweaks, but like I said, out of an abundance of caution, we went back to the council, reintroduced a new draft with those modifications in there, and now it's back at the planning board for your comments, master plan consistency. It'll go back to the council if you act favorably, and then the council can amend their plan that they've already adopted.
And the rooftop amenity?
So there was some discussion that there would be a rooftop, and this is why the 14 stories also captures that there would be a rooftop amenity space on top of the roof. And although it's still conceptual, that rooftop space would actually have a roof over it, right? So it would have gone from 12 stories to 13 stories. I know how some people feel about a 13-story building. So it went to 14 just to bring all that. But I don't anticipate any changes. Really, the building's not changing. It's just some of the slopes and some of the heights and some of that rooftop amenity space might be a true. If anyone wanted to count it as another story, the plan would allow it.
All right. Any comments?
Remind me again, where is the parking, like access to the parking?
So
Coming off of-
right now, there's just concept drawings, right? So it's just plain term, it's around the back. So if you come off a landing lane, there's a driveway there now.
Right.
And in the concepts that I've seen, it would be almost the same location, but instead of going to that little tiny parking spot, there's
Right.
maybe like 12 spaces back there right now,
Yeah.
right? It would go sort of into the site and then internal to a parking structure.
Okay, so given the increase, are you looking at the traffic flow there? Because you can't make a left on landing lane off of Easton technically, right? And so you also can't access that parking lot if you make the left at the light.
So,
You know what I'm talking about?
right. So that is something that is absolutely legitimate of a concern.
Yeah.
They should, when they come before you for the site plan, they're gonna need to show that it's
Okay.
safe to make those left turns.
Right.
Maybe there's some roadway modifications or
Yeah.
signage that needs to be done. Maybe there's reprogramming of the light.
Yeah.
Maybe, who knows, right? But they're gonna really have to show what their peak projections are gonna be, how many people they expect to come in the AM and PM peaks, and then show that that intersection and that driveway can handle it. If it can't, they're gonna need to make eventual modifications to their plan to make it work better.
Alright,
So,
cool.
They are doing those studies now. They've looked at it pretty thoroughly before they even did the concept plan. Sorry, I represent.
No, that's okay.
Any other questions coming from the board? Seeing none. I'll open it up to the public. Anyone from the public have any questions or comments on this? Seeing none, I'm going to close the public portion. Do I have a motion?
Now, Megan, I think you might have to recuse yourself on the vote.
I thought we decided I was actually far enough away.
Were you?
I was too close on the Easton Ave side, for sure. I'm happy to recuse if you
are
need
you within
to.
200 feet?
I'm at 243 New York Avenue.
Is that within 200 feet of the
I'm
parking site?
pretty sure it is.
We didn't do run on 200 foot. There's no notice like that for this, so I wouldn't know.
I can
When they
recuse
did
if you
when
say.
they did the community meeting, were you invited?
Yes.
That was within 200 feet.
When in doubt, recuse.
Yep,
Yeah.
that's fine.
Okay.
So once there's a motion, a yes vote will be to recommend this change to the council.
Okay.
I'll make a motion.
Bill Pacheco?
Yes.
Alina Melendez?
Yes.
Vince Carlebby?
Yes.
Al Toros? Mike Blackwell?
Yes.
Scott Cardica?
Yes.
Sean Thomas?
Yes. Other matters of interest to the public? Charlie, please come forward. State your
Let me
name.
get out of here first.
You already went sworn in, so you'll be still sworn in.
Good evening, members of the board. Chairman Cox, I want to address you directly. I think the rhetorical question to ask here is, what's more important, the future of our city or enforcing the 5-minute time limit on public comments at a single meeting in the year 2025? The proposal before you tonight was for one of the biggest structures the city might ever see built, and there were maybe 10 people that wanted to comment total. I think you should have listened to all the constructive comments that were made, and you should have allowed me more time to get my questions out, especially since a good chunk of my time was taken up by Mr. Kelso interrupting me to address the concern I raised. So I think in the future, and I've said this before, you need to change your rules, change your bylaws, and use your discretion. Tonight, the Newark Central Planning Board has to have another hearing on several skyscrapers that are proposed there because they didn't let the public cross-examine the witnesses like they should have. And so right now that's happening. And taxpayers had to pay for a whole court case because of that. And frankly, I got a letter that I didn't even get the chance to read until I sat down because it wasn't made available on the website. I would have had questions that I would have asked of Mr. Kelso or others through the chair, of course. But I wasn't able to do that because you were so insistent on getting this wrapped up and ending on time. And I don't think that's right. I think that you should be more careful with how you run these meetings, and we should think about what is most important. And I do think that it is much more important what the future of our city holds for all of us. These projects are going to be here for years and years to come, and it's so important that we get this right. This is a prime piece of real estate, just a few hundred feet from the train station. The plan is to build I think I heard 42-story building, and you're insisting on limiting us to 5 minutes for all the witnesses and anything that we may want to introduce as the public. Well, that's a little ridiculous, and it shows that the board is favoring the developers who were able to go on and answer all the questions that came before them at length and chime in as they wish throughout the hearing with more information. I appreciate them chiming in with constructive information. I was trying to bring constructive questions to this board and to actually prompt more information to come out. Like I said, knowledge is power. And, this board, more than any other board, should care about the future of the city. And tonight, it showed me that you cared more about enforcing your rules and limiting the public's input on projects. And that's not the role of the board, and I think that was wrong. So I hope you'll take that to heart. I know you're a person who cares about the city. I know you probably watch a lot of our videos, a lot of the meetings that do happen, and you attend meetings that you don't have to attend because you care. And I hope you understand that I care, and that's why I get up here and ask questions and try to elicit information for everyone, including the board. So in the future, I hope you'll use your discretion to allow more substantive discussion, especially when it's a big project. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public? Seeing none, close the thing.